Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just got back from an epic adventure across Bali, Singapore and Phuoc, that beautiful island in Vietnam, and throughout the trip I pushed my Insta360 X4 to the limit. I use Insta360 X4 on ATVs and motorbikes. I use it for kayaking, ziplining, underwater shots, boats, beaches, and even some gorgeous time lapses and hyperlapses. I tested the X4 in every action-packed scenario you can think of. Honestly, I was blown away by what this camera can do. If you're wondering whether it's a worthy upgrade from X3, spoiler alert, it totally is. But hold up, Insta360 just dropped the X5 and it comes with some serious upgrades. I already made a video diving deep into all the new features and key changes. Check it out here, and I have also linked it in the comments below. Quick disclaimer before we dive in, I bought both the X4 and X5 with my own money, no sponsors, no free buys, so everything I say is 100% my personal, unbiased opinion. Today's videos is all about a real-world comparison, X4 versus X5. But here is a twist. Instead of placing them side by side, which ruins the invisible selfie stick effect, I mounted them on top of each other to get the exact same angle. This way I believe I will be more fair for both of them. Now let me tell you, it's super tricky to compare those two fairly. In post-production you need to keyframe both videos identically, which is nearly impossible. So yes, you might spot a camera lens looking like a UFO in some shots, but I've done my best to hide that up where I could. I also tried to match all camera settings, but in some cases I had to use each camera's best available options, especially since the X4 has few limitations, which I will mention during the course of this video. Let's have a look at the design. At first glance, the X4 and X5 look nearly identical, but the X5 is slightly taller, so if you are using accessories like a protective cage or dive case for X4, heads up, they won't fit the X5. The biggest design upgrade, the replaceable lenses on the X5. Break a lens on X4 and you're basically out of luck. Break one on the X5, swap it out, game changer. You are also getting a bigger battery on the X5, jumping from 2290 mAh to 2400 mAh, which gives you a bit more runtime. Oh, and there's a magnetic mount at the bottom, same one as the Ace Pro 2, but weirdly it's not included in the box. Yep, you will need to buy that separately. But real headline here is the sensor upgrade. The X4 comes with a half-inch sensor, while X5 packs a 1/1.28-inch sensor. That's a 144% increase in size. Sounds amazing in theory, right? But the real question is, does the bigger sensor actually perform better? Well, that's what we are here to find out, and the results might surprise you. So don't click away, because depending on the conditions, the performance can change a lot and you may be shocked. Today we will be testing 360 modes, single lens modes, low light performance, underwater shooting but only in single lens, battery performance, internal microphone performance. I've added timestamps in the video descriptions in case you want to skip to a specific part. Let's jump in and see if the X5 truly takes the crown or the X4 still holds its ground. The first scene, both cameras are set to 5.7K at 60 FPS. Now here's a key difference. X5 supports HDR at 60 FPS while the X4 caps HDR at 30 FPS. So in this scenario, I got the X5 shooting in HDR and the X4 running standard non-HDR, but both locked at 60 FPS and all other settings are identical. It's a bright sunny day with a crystal clear sky, no clouds in the sight, perfect for testing detail and exposure. Surprisingly, apart from the color rendering, both cameras look almost identical at first glance. The sharpness is exactly the same, and we zoom into the water surfaces and wave textures. Both cameras capture a solid level of clarity. Neither one is better than the other. As for digital noise, it's neck and neck. Despite the X5's larger sensor, there is no noticeable advantage in noise reduction in this daylight scenario. That was unexpected, but hey, real world tests don't lie. But wait, don't go. Now moving to the second scene. This time the sun is behind me, a tricky backlit setup. Here's where we start seeing some real difference. The X4 struggles a bit with some flares, producing slightly overexposed highlights and those unnatural sun stars that can be distracting. On the other hand, X5 handles the highlights much more gracefully, no sun stars, better exposure control. It's a clear win for the X5 in the scene when it's come to dynamic range. Scene 3, and it's a golden hour or sunset time. But again, we notice a clear difference in exposure handling. The X5 managed to expose the sun itself more accurately, keeping the sky tones balanced and preventing highlight blowout. The X4, however, tends to overexpose the sun, expanding its brightness unnaturally and washing out the sky in the process. So for sunset lovers and cinematic shots, X5 makes better job than X4. Fourth scene, HDR mode on both cameras at 5.7K 25 FPS. Here the X5 shows better overall clarity and sharpness, textures pop a bit more, details look cleaner. But interestingly, when it comes to dynamic range, I wouldn't say one dominates the other, they perform identical. Also, noise levels remain similar even in HDR mode. Now for the big one, low light performance in 360 mode. Using identical settings, the X5 is visibly brighter and shows less digital noise in general. The X4 footage is darker and grain is more visible, especially in shadow areas. That said, the X5 still isn't perfect. You will still see noticeable grain in very low light situations, but the real game changer is the X5's pure video mode. In pure video mode, the X5 boosts up the ISO to max levels, and thanks to AI processors, it cleans up the image, reduces grain, and restores pixel data in a way that standard video mode just can't match. The result? Much more usable footage at night, especially if you are shooting handheld or on the go. Wait, don't think yet the X5 is much better than X4. Let's have a look at the microphone quality. And today is a windy day. I'm also testing the microphone quality. Insta360 X5 has a wind guard and the X4 doesn't have this wind guard and it is windy. Insta360 introduced a wind guard for the X5 to enhance audio quality, but it seems the design wasn't targeted for vloggers, more likely aimed at motorists, skiers or kayakers. The wind protected microphones are positioned at the back and side of the camera, so when you're facing the screen to speak, your voice isn't captured by the wind guarded mics, and if you speak directly into those wind guarded mics, you can see yourself on the screen. X5 has a wind guard, but X4 doesn't have a wind guard. It is a little bit windy and I don't know how X5 is capturing my voice because the microphone, the wind guarded microphone, is on at the back of the camera. Now I'm speaking directly to the back of the camera, both of them. When I switch the camera, I'm not able to see myself with the Insta X5. However, I'm able to directly talk to the wind guarded microphone, and Insta X4 doesn't have a wind guard microphone. Which one sounds better? Still, the Insta360 X5 offers improved sound quality over the X4, but still not perfect. Both the X4 and X5 support 4K at 60 FPS in single lens mode, and to be honest, there is no resolution upgrade in this area on the X5. It's the same spec on paper. But here where the things get interesting. In my dynamic range test, I noticed the X5 handles highlights better. In bright conditions, the X4 tends to blow out certain areas, losing detail in the highlights, especially tricky backlit scenarios. The X5 on the other hand does a better job retaining detail in those bright spots. When you look into the shadows, it's a similar story. The X4 renders shadows noticeably darker, while the X5 leaves those shadows just enough to reveal more color and texture. And while it's not something you will spot immediately without zooming in, the X5 produces slightly less digital noise in those bright areas, which results in cleaner overall image quality. But again, it's a slight improvement, not a game changer. Let's take a closer look at some of the greenery. The difference is pretty clear. The leaves and plants look greener, richer and more vibrant on the X5. Is the X4 footage bad? Not at all. In fact, it still looks great, but when compared side by side, the X4 colors appear a bit flatter and the greens aren't as punchy as on the X5. The grass, especially in direct sunlight, looks significantly better on the X5, not oversaturated but definitely more natural and lifelike. Moving back into low light territory, in single lens mode, let's address a limitation. Pure video mode isn't available in single lens mode on either camera. So when we push both the X4 and X5 to their ISO limits, set at max ISO 1600 with identical settings, we get nearly identical results. Both clips are grainy, dark, and honestly not usable for any serious content. However, the X5 does support ISO up to 6400 while the X4 maxes out at 1600. So if you do bump the ISO up to 6400 on the X5, you will get a brighter image, but there is a catch. It comes with significantly more grain. For me personally, the footage still isn't usable at that level unless you plan to heavily denoise in the post. Indoor shootings is a similar story. The X5 outputs a brighter image thanks again to that higher ISO capability, but unfortunately the noise level also increases quite a bit. The X4 meanwhile stays darker due to its ISO cap, but in some cases might actually give you a slightly cleaner image though it is underexposed. Indoor or low light environments without pure video mode, neither camera really shines. It is clear that Insta360's low light performance still has room for improvement, especially in single lens mode. Now let's talk about time-lapse. Both cameras are capable of producing incredible 11K time-lapse footage, and if you have seen it, you know how sharp and cinematic it can look. But here again, the X5 takes the edge. In scenes involving the sun like sunrise or sunsets, the X4 tends to overexpose, especially when the sun is directly in the frame. The X5 balances the exposure better, preserving detail in both the sky and ground and handling highlights much more naturally. Let's talk about underwater performance, especially in single lens mode. First things first, none of the 360-degree cameras, whether it's the X3, X4 or X5, can stitch properly underwater without using the official invisible dive case. That's just the reality of how their dual lenses design works underwater due to light refraction. But here's the real question I want to explore. If you don't own a conventional action camera with single lens like GoPro, Osmo Action or Insta360 Ace Pro, and your only gear is the Insta360 X4 or X5, can you still use it like a traditional action camera underwater in single lens mode? And let's dive into the results together. The Insta3 X5 does produce better color underwater, you get a more balanced dynamic range, and there's slightly less digital noise compared to the X4. However, the difference isn't massive, and both cameras struggle with one major issue: focus. Underwater, the lenses on both cameras simply can't focus properly, especially towards the edges of the frame. You will see warping, stretching, and blurry zones that just ruin the sharpness. In the center, sometimes the X4 even outperforms the X5 in terms of focus. Take a look at these shots of fish groups. On the X5, it is hard to find a single fish that's actually in focus. On the X4, you can at least spot one or two fish that look a bit sharper. It's not perfect, but it is slightly better. This was such a rare and magical moment. I get to swim alongside a turtle, a very rare occasion. You can see those turtles every day. But unfortunately, both cameras struggle. The X4 slightly focused on the turtle better than the X5, but still neither delivered usable footage due to poor underwater focusing. Once you're above the water though, no issues at all. Both cameras focus just fine and their field of view is virtually identical. I didn't notice one being wider than the other. The real issue is in the lens design. These ultra-wide lenses just aren't optimized for underwater shooting without a dive case. If your main purpose is underwater content, my advice, skip the X4 and X5. Instead, look at dedicated action cams like Insta360 Ace Pro 2, GoPro Hero 13 or DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Which one's the best? I honestly don't know yet, but if this video gets 20 subscribers and likes, I promise I will do a full underwater comparison of all four cameras. Let's talk about battery performance. In my testings across various shooting modes, whether it was 360 mode, time lapses or HDR footage, I found that the X5 consistently gave me around 5 to 8 minutes more runtime compared to the X4 under similar conditions. It's not a massive leap, but when you're out in the field, especially on longer travel days or adventure shoots, these extra minutes really add up. In 5.7K 60 FPS, which I mostly use these settings, I generally can shoot around 1 hour 10 minutes, 1 hour 20 minutes. With both cameras, and X5 may be 5 or 10 minutes longer. That said, the X5 is slightly more power hungry, especially when you are using pure video mode, HDR at 60 FPS or higher ISO settings. These AI power features and larger sensor demand more processing, so in more demanding modes, the extra battery capacity balances things out rather than giving you significantly longer sessions. One important note though, the batteries are not cross-compatible. If you are upgrading from the X4 to X5, you will need to invest in new batteries and charging gear. The physical shape is different and they won't fit in each other's slots, so plan accordingly. For travel and long shooting days, I will still recommend carrying at least 1 or 2 spare batteries regardless of which camera you are using. Battery drains so quickly. The good thing is both have quick charging option, however X5 is charging quicker. X4 with PD charger, you can charge it from 0 to 80% in 40 minutes. Full charging may take almost 1 hour, while X5 can be charged from 0 to 80% in 20 minutes and full charge may take 35-40 minutes. So what are my final thoughts? The X4 is still a fantastic 360 camera for most users, especially in normal lighting and single lens mode. The video quality is very close to X5. The differences are minimal unless you are shooting in challenging conditions. But when it comes to low light performance, the X5 clearly pulls ahead thanks to the larger 1/1.28-inch sensor, the dual AI chips, and of course the pure video mode. Is it perfect in low light? Not yet, but it is a noticeable improvement over the X4, but not in the single lens mode. So if you would like to use mostly in a single lens mode, I will definitely recommend look other alternatives, not X5 or X4. Another big win for X5 is the replaceable lenses. And trust me, if you use your camera heavily like me in action-packed scenarios, you will scratch or break a lens or two eventually. The X5 gives you peace of mind knowing you can swap it out, while the X4 doesn't offer that flexibility, and if you break the lenses, it may cost you a fortune for X4. So should you upgrade? If you already own the X4 and it's working fine, I would say hold off for now unless you really need the better low light or you've cracked a lens. But if you don't own a 360 camera yet and you are deciding between the two, the X5 is absolutely the better buy, and as of today I think it's the best consumer grade 360 camera on the market. Should I upgrade from X3, X2, X1? Definitely guys. The image quality really improved a lot compared to X3, X2 and X1. So I dropped my affiliate links for both the X4 and X5 down below. If you decide to buy one, it really helps the channel and I appreciate the support, and it will not cost you any additional money. If this video helped you out, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of upcoming content, including that underwater comparison if we hit those 20 subscriber or likes. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video.